It's E'mon Lauren like Polo, the coldest living chica, the rep, the go flow, that goals got brains, match the quote, the mother of the Hoodwives, a fist no fold. Tell me what your thought juice is, cause I bring the bottles and the truth is I'ma lay it out for all the fools here. I make it clear, 100 proof pit, ayy. Princess E money, time to cash out. Recommendo for the shorties, hard clits out. Do a little dance, shake a little ass. I'm just tryna ask, what's your thought juice? Yeah. Dun dun dun.
Let's get some. What is up, everybody? It's your girl / boy, E'mon Lauren like Polo, BlkHoneyBun, bitch. Season 4, episode. Ooh. 7.
Yeah.
7. 4 and 7. Good.
I like the number.
I did really. What is your favorite number?
It's not 7, but in this moment when you said it, I liked it. But
Yes.
My favorite number is 6.
Season 4, episode 7. This is the Real Hoodwives Chicago, a real show with hot sauce stories, brought to you by BlkHoneyBun Productions and associated with Rise Above and Prosper. Hey, Carlo. Hey. I am so excited. Oh my God, this is like a full circle blessed moment.
Hey.
I am so excited to have my guest. We have Kiana from Queer Sex Therapy, a wonderful sex doctor.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sure, if you want to give it that.
Pussy PhD.
Unofficially, I'm no PhD.
Street PhD, hood PhD, just a really wonderful person that takes care of the community and teaches the politics of pleasure, the activism, pleasure activism, so to speak. Shout out to Adrienne Marie Brown.
Hey.
But I am very excited to have our guest. Please make some noise for Kiana. I have to say, that's probably the most impressive and thorough and cleanest intro we have done to date.
I mean, this whole board on its own, I'm like, this is impressive.
Yes. How are you doing today?
I'm so good. I had a good Monday. I'm coming out of seasonal depression, and I went to the gym for the first time in 2 months and moved my body, and I feel energized, even though I'm PMSing, but I'm feeling like, at the moment, pretty balanced, pretty good.
I'm very happy for you
Thank you.
Very excited that you are in a good space.
Yes.
Yeah, and also
yes.
PMS be like...
It's rough.
It is.
It's rough emotionally for me. I always feel like I'm a little depressive around that time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I always experience seasonal depression right after daylight savings in the fall and right before daylight savings in the spring.
Okay, so like went between the 2 seasons.
Like a period of time. So maybe the first few weeks after and the first few weeks before we do the time change again. Like my body's at its end. It cannot do this time anymore, cannot do this winter anymore, and it dips. And then right when daylight savings happens, I feel like my body kind of comes back to life with spring.
Yes, that sounds correct on like the winter solstice equinox schedule.
Yes.
I usually get depression in the summertime, but I guess as a black person that does make sense because boobs and all that shit. But
yeah, you're not the first person to say that to me lately, so.
I love the winter. It does no wonder for my skin, but, but I love the winter. The snow, I'll be like, yeah, everything's dying.
You said grief, period.
Yeah.
Call it in.
A rebirth.
I really like people that don't shy away from that, though. I feel like I learn from people like you then, because when the winter comes, I'm like, oh no, we're here again. And it takes a lot to be present with the season and actually taking lessons instead of just wanting to run away from it all the time.
Thank you. I really appreciate and receive that.
Yeah.
I think what it has been, especially with the pandemic, like not having to go on the fucking bus in Chicago's winter.
Yeah.
Like that could possibly add to it. And now I just look at all the people in the streets waiting for the bus. And then that brings me joy. And I'm like, this is a grateful moment. I get to work and watch the snow. But
Come through.
what is like your gym routine? The one that like keeps you good and spicy.
Yeah. I would say I don't think much. I do 1 leg day, 1 arm day, and if I get in a 3rd day, that's great.
Okay.
But if not, then I'm good with those 2 days.
Okay.
So I go in and I just think, what is every part of my lower body that I can work? Okay. So I have weak hips, and I need to work a lot on my hips and my alignment.
I'm sorry, that was cute.
I do have weak hips.
These hips. You ever heard that Lucille Clifton poem?
Maybe.
These hips. Well,
Maybe.
Yeah.
It just sounds like something that they would write.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's like, I got knock knees and my height, and then I had a knee surgery back in the day. So I'm like,
Really?
we're weak. Yeah.
Did you play any sports?
I did. I played volleyball. That's how I injured myself.
I was gonna, you can always tell a volleyball player. I ain't gonna even hold you.
I'm looking
at volleyball players like
the respect I have for the fact that you said that, because most people say basketball and the way I cannot dribble a ball.
No.
But I am a star.
You are.
So
also your height is so hot.
Yeah.
I think tall black femmes are the future.
Hello, and I always
Who else is gonna get shit for me?
Nobody. Nobody.
Sure.
And I also said I wrote a paper about this in college when I was like, this sport is classist, this sport is racist, and just wait until more black people have access to volleyball specifically, and they will dominate the whole sport. And that's all you will see is a sea of color. Yeah. Because it's a very middle class, upper class white sport now.
It really is. Very valley.
They're fucking lucky until that shit ends, because then it's over for them. They'll never be able to compete again.
Right. Also, all black volleyball players got the best asses. So.
Yeah.
Let's just end that sport right
Where's
there.
that clap button?
Okay, hold on. I may have something else Oh shit. That totally fucking worked.
It's okay, it worked.
I didn't know what the fuck that was, but
works.
Let it not be something copyrighted, because we don't need that. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us, who do we have on this wonderful couch on this show today?
Yes, my name is Kiana. I use she and they pronouns. How to even describe me? A person with a lot of Virgo and Cancer in their chart.
Okay.
So very logistical, very logical, but very sentimental, very homey and sensitive. But also somebody who, I'm a hype man. Mm-hmm. I love to dance. I love to shake my ass and encourage other people to shake their ass. And I'm a storyteller. I feel like that's what it is. Whether it's through performance or through the written word or whatever it is, I feel like a storyteller. And that's when I'm in my best bag, is when I am just telling my own story. And that's how I like to connect to other people. Mm-hmm. Did it resonate with somebody else? Can they share their story back with me? Mm-hmm. So in whatever medium it is, I feel like I'm a storyteller.
That's good shit.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this episode. You're just the perfect person, the most perfect person to have on this show. I really want to talk about what you do, and also just seek some advice,
For sure.
Niggas need some sex pleasure advice. That's some real shit. I want to talk about my booty hole.
Talk about it.
Yeah. I want to talk about my booty hole. Not yet, but I'm gonna get to that. But before I forget, I'm working the fuck out this soundboard. But before I forget, this is a segment called "What's Your Thought Juice?" Oh wait, no, what is that? Oh wait, no. Before I forget, this is a segment called "What's Your Thought Juice?" Yeah.
All right. What's happening, folks? I'm Black the bartender, and welcome to the Pink Polo, where we juice your thoughts. What do you have, huh? What? All right, sure. First, you want to take you some nice mezcal tequila. Some nice mezcal tequila, something that's smoking other than your blunts, all right? You want to give that a nice steady pour after you break the seal. Good ASMR. Give it a nice steady pour, right? All right, next you want to top it off with some lime juice. Give it a nice shake and pop the bottom, as we always like bottoms to be popped, right? All right, give it a nice pour. Next you want to top it off with some ginger beer. Hit it with some ginger beer till you hear it pop, till you hear it fizz, and there you go. Serve it up in a nice merchandise cup, preferably that you get at your local bartender. Serve it up on a coaster, serve it up neat, and there you have it. Let's get messy, or in other words, Kiana's thought juice. I'm alright with that. You enjoy it. What's your thought juice?
I had to get it. Kiana, what is your thought juice today, my dear?
My thought juice is a mezcal mule.
Uh-huh.
Because I got really into mezcal when I went to Mexico City maybe a year and a half ago or so, and I'm about to go back, and I'm really excited. And now I just want mezcal and everything. So people order all kinds of mules at the club, at the bar, and I wasn't really into it until I said, but can y'all make a mezcal mule? And they said, of course.
Yes.
We can put it in anything. So now anytime I see anything on the menu, I just substitute.
To mezcal.
Yeah.
Cheers. Welcome, thought juice. Honestly, this was the first drink that Jamila bought for me.
Was a mule?
A mascot mule. Because like
Specifically?
yeah. She was like, try to get a mule, a mascot mule. You know how Jamila do her long ass voice.
I like that whole embodiment you just stepped into.
I really got good ass Jamila Woods impressions. Like, I'm gonna be performing on tour.
Please.
I'm gonna be like Swarm.
Oh, please don't spoil. I'm only 2 episodes in. Don't spoil.
Okay, you're only 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
What did you think of the first?
I think it's fucking phenomenal and brilliant, and I can only watch so many at a time.
Yes.
And now I've committed to watching with one of my best friends. So, like, I can't go ahead, and I think that helps me because otherwise I will just consume it all in a dark hole of my room and then come out and be like, what the fuck day is it? So we're going like 2 episodes at a time with each other. And it's so much more fun to talk shit with somebody else while you watch that.
It really is. I don't get to partake in many shows with a lot of people, but when I did watch that first episode, I got on it from Twitter because I was like, Chloe Bailey got cheeks out more than normal.
Grownish where?
With some Idris. I don't really know how I feel about Idris dancing. He looked like a baby to me. He looked like a baby with a British accent, and I don't know how I feel about that. I just feel like Hollywood.
So it doesn't fit?
It doesn't, and I also really don't like how like Hollywood is like taking black actors like with a British accent attached to them. It's kind of giving like a new layer of palatability.
It's happening a lot.
And like, you trust a Brit, but you don't trust a nigga? What is happening here? What is happening here?
Wait, hashtag unpopular opinion. Started here, started now.
Hot take. It's hot. It's a real show with hot sauce stories.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Yeah.
The work that you do with queer sex therapy. I was explaining how this is a full circle moment for me.
Yes, please.
Because what I didn't realize, bashful, is that I was following the Instagram account and was a major fan of it. Guys, please follow at Queer Sex Therapy, but also follow Kiana because
we'll get
she's
there.
that girl. But when I saw your little icon in the bottom, I was like,
I know that face.
No fucking way. No fucking way. And then I saw you at our fundraiser.
Yeah.
Really just wanted to ask you and take you in. Like, it was a beautifully clicked moment. So I really appreciate you for receiving me and receiving what this is about and what the intention that it has. So, of course, I want to give you space to tell who you are, of course, again, and like the work that you do and everything like that.
I'm going to just take you back.
Yes.
So let me take you back to 16?
There we go.
I think that's when I technically got into like the sex ed realm somehow. But it started off with youth, with kids. That's what I really wanted to do. Was I was learning all about sociology, women's and gender studies in school, and I was thinking, where was this when I needed it? Where was this when I was in school? Right. So I thought, how do I bridge the gap? Got great internships, great opportunities, worked with a bunch of youth, primarily high school, some junior high, and then after college was thrust into the nonprofit realm and did Illinois Caucus for Adolescent Health, for anybody that knows that. Illinois the way I wish that's what they were. Illinois Caucus for Adolescent Health. They do all sorts of like reproductive justice work. They'd probably be like, yeah, we take that.
A caucus of cocks.
Yes, them, and what else? And there was something on the East Coast I did for a bit. And so I was just thrust into going into schools, working on curriculums, facilitating, preparing workshops, doing all the things. And then after a period of time, I realized this is still limited. Like, I'm limited in the nonprofit realm. I'm limited by what the schools allow us to say and not to say, even though they're hiring us to come in and teach these kids. So I left, and I was working with kids in another capacity too, and so I just wanted some adult contact, honestly, and I wanted adults to think ongoing education is important. Like, just because you turn 18 does not mean you stop learning about sex. It does not mean you stop learning about your body, sexuality, because that is... You're going to be 60 and be very different than what you were at 40 and 20. So I just took it to Instagram because everybody was like, I really like what you talk about. You go on these little rants on your stories about what you learned when you were younger and what you're unlearning in your religious schooling from back then, all the things. So I was just ranting and realizing there's something to be said. And there's people who want to listen. And there's people who want to share their story back with me. So it just turned into Healing Isn't Perfect, which is my page now. And that's how I connected with Casey on Queer Sex Therapy, was that we were in similar fields and doing similar things, except I was not in the therapy realm. And I was talking a lot about sex work at the time, very publicly and openly online.
Cheers.
Hello? Yeah. Cheers.
I'll give you what you drink.
But yes, cheers to that.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to do it, and it's another thing to talk about doing it. It's a lot. And we just crossed paths, and we're like, how do we merge these worlds? Like, there's something to be done here. We feel so similarly about our clients and the work that we want to do and the education we want to put out there. And that's how I joined the team. And I was one of the first employees there, and it just blew up to what it is now, the expansive group. But I had no idea it was going to be what it is now.
Yes.
No idea.
Yes. I am so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of me too.
That's shit. As you should be. As you should be. I think that, like, you're living the sex dream. Ba-da-ba, right? But, like, that is really beautiful and empowering work. And I think it's even more important because you are a Black femme. And that kind of just, like, gets removed from us, at least from an educational source, especially when you come to, like, media, social industry or things like that.
Yeah.
You're the hyper-sexualized version of that. So to be on the end of the spectrum that is completely important and completely necessary, and also to be a face of that is very crucial. And I give it your flowers very earnestly and very religiously.
Thank you. It's why my face is on there in that way, because I was like, it's important for people to know who's saying this.
Yes.
Who's giving the message, whose identity is speaking right now. And that felt important and, like, salient on the page.
Because, like, you also give other Black people, when we are ourselves, you give other people permission to do the same.
Yes.
And so it's like a lot of Black people, we was talking about this, shout out with Jamila Woods, we was talking about, like, removing ourselves from shame. And you were talking about being in a religious field and things like that. Would you say that a lot of your healing and a lot of your shame also comes from, like, trying to remove yourself from, like, religious or, like, the whole Madonna whore perspective type of thing?
1,000% to this day. There's still things I don't know yet that I have to unlearn still. Yeah. It was 6 years of me being at a very culty white Baptist school. I didn't even know.
Cults.
Y'all.
That's my favorite topic.
I didn't know white people could be Baptist. I just thought that was a Black thing. Straight up. That's what I knew from family and what I saw in culture and what I understood about the South. That, like, I was like, there are white Baptists. What does that even mean?
I've never seen a white Baptist in my life.
Have you?
You know what? Yeah, Elvis Presley.
What?
No, I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. I saw the movie.
I wouldn't play anything past that story.
Because, like, the way that they put that whole movie together was like, oh, he was, like, raised around Black people, so he was just immersed in the culture. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But that is a cult.
But yeah, it was. I mean, my school was on the news several times back in the day. I mean, I'm sure they still are, but I just don't pay attention anymore. I don't even want to see it. But, like, because they're private school, their policies, the things that they did, the things that happened there, teachers getting arrested for shit. A lot. And those are very formative years.
Yes.
So even now, I feel like I'm still remembering what I was punished for back then for thinking and saying and doing. And that's probably in my body still to this day, which is why I think for me, doing something like sex work was like the opposite of the pendulum swing of, like, fuck this.
Oh, yeah.
This is how I take back my shit. This is how I'm gonna do it. I really like Demi Lovato's new album, Holy Fuck. I don't know if you've heard it.
I haven't. That's honestly funny true. Demi Lovato.
I really like it. Well, that's why, because my girlfriend's really into Demi Lovato, and so I was never not into her. I just didn't really pay attention.
No, Demi could blow. Make no mistake about it. Demi could blow.
But this album, I really got into because I was like, I'm gonna get concert tickets, and we're gonna go together, and it's gonna be so much fun. And so I listened to the album in preparation, and then I became a fan. And there are so many songs on there.
That's the only way to do it.
Hello?
That's the only way to do it.
Where I feel like they're talking more about maybe Catholicism or something else, but they're definitely talking about finding their sexuality without and through religion in that album.
Is 29 on that album?
Yes.
Okay. That's a good song.
Yes,
that's a good song.
It is.
That's a really good song.
And sometimes when I listen to music that is that powerful, and powerful music for me typically something that just is intense and evokes a lot of emotion from me, I just lay still in my bed with my headphones on, and I just imagine little, like, music videos in my head, and I just imagined me in just the skimpiest, little skankiest outfit outside across the street from that school, like singing that song, having a whole little music video to like put my fucking middle finger up to them.
You should let me produce that.
I think you should. I think you should.
Yeah, that would be actually really fire. Like on some nice film or a nice vintage camcorder. I think that'd be really fire.
Yeah,
but
let's talk.
I want to, if we can go back, you were talking about education.
Yes.
Sex education.
Yeah.
Particularly in school. And I'm really inspired. Let's fucking get into it because we gotta talk about this shit honestly and thoroughly, right? And I think that when sex education in school is talked about nowadays, in modern days, is through a very singular lens, a very singular whitewash lens, if I'm being brutally honest. I do understand, and this can go on a tangent, but I'll try to stream it in. I do understand how when a black person says that like transphobia and racism are rooted in the same things, that makes sense to me. Yes. Especially when you think about Stonewall and that being a radical movement, like by like Sylvia Plath and like is Sylvia Plath?
Yeah, no. Marsha P. Johnson.
Yeah, Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha Pay It No Mind Johnson. And like that was a radical like a movement being extremely anti-war and all that. So when I think about how schools should teach about LGBTQ things in school, I think it should be through that radical lens. But I don't always appreciate how it gets grouped in together with like black issues.
Yeah.
To sex education, I feel like the basics still get forgotten.
Yeah.
And it
absolutely.
just gets kind of like, I don't know, the whole argument of indoctrination versus like educational and then science and things like that. How would you give suggestions about how sex education should be facilitated, particularly around our youth in a more inclusive form, if you can?
Yes, people get stressed the minute that you talk about youth and sex in the same sentence.
Yes,
stressed immediately.
I'm sweating.
And here's my thing: when have y'all seen somebody abstain from sex because you didn't talk about it with them? Like instead, all they're gonna do is go find out information from somebody else.
Yes.
Like I was very lucky and privileged that my dad was actually the source of information for me. He taught me about consent growing up. He taught me about sex. He taught me about communication. He taught me about all the things. And so I had somebody in my life who was talking about it, even though I was still getting messages from the outside world. So I think that if youth have somebody who is a trusted adult in their life to come to ask questions, just to be a resource, or to just say, I'm thinking about this and I just want somebody to know, that is just the best way to go about it. And it needs to be pleasure-based. That's what I think needs to happen in schools. To this day, all we're seeing is prevention, and fear-based and fear-based. Even when we're adding more information about identities and different structures of relationships, it's still like, don't let this happen to you. Don't get this. Don't do this. Don't end up in this situation. Instead of like, how do we move through pleasure? What would make you feel best? And if it doesn't, then you don't do it. But what would make you feel best? What would make this other person, if somebody else is involved, feel best? What's pleasure at the center? And pleasure could mean so many things to different people. And I'm imagining that a lot of us would be having different sex now if we had that education then. We might not even think it's like genital based, right? Like what if somebody was like, well, I just really like kissing people. Like that's what brings me pleasure. Then that's all you have to do. Like that could be sex for you and that could be it. And like, let's talk about that. Let's not make that an afterthought. Like that can be the whole center of what is educational to you and important to you. But we don't get that. We don't get pleasure-based anything. And so then as adults, we wonder why it's so fucking hard to find.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely concur because I think that like equally talking about pleasure in itself and what you like is honestly kind of preventative.
Yes.
Like, if you know what you like, you know what like what would feel good to you and like how that can be a radical act. Yeah. And I would also presume that like consent is heavily wrapped in that. Yeah. And that's what I think should really especially be taught in schools. And that's not something that you can just wrap up in biology.
No, and I want consent to be taught not in sex ed so that it doesn't start there. Why are we only talking about consent when it comes to touching each other's bodies? Okay. In a sexual context, with like a sexual intent.
But there's consent for everything.
If that's hard to understand, only in that context. If somebody all of a sudden is being thrown this word and being thrown these scenarios and they're like, oh my God, this is now a lot of responsibility. It's heavy. But instead, if when they're 4, you're like, if you don't want to kiss so-and-so when you greet them, then you don't have to.
Yes.
By the time they get around to wanting to have sex and they understand, I don't have to do things I don't want to do. I'm not going to ask other people to do things they don't want to do. But if we just throw it at people only when it comes to sex, I feel like we're just missing so much. And that's why like there's just a lot of gray area then.
Yeah, thank you for calling that out. That was a good one. Woo, we'll snap. I'll get some fun, but we in it. We on a roll, and I'm feeling it. Do you feel that, like, if I can pick your brain for a minute, do you feel like sexual education to marginalized youth is very different than sexual education to white schools and institutions?
Yes.
Suburbs.
Yes, I do. I don't even think I really understand in all the ways because I'm just one person and just like one view. But the messaging is different, I think. And I just think the messaging is so different of what is considered acceptable, what happens at home and what you see at home. I don't know. I can't even possibly generalize, but I'm just imagining it like home life is different, cultural experience is different. That like your sex ed would have to be relevant. I couldn't even tell you what it would need to be overall. That's what I would think when I would go into a school. Like you ask the people at the school, what do your kids talk about? What's important to them? What kind of cultural references do they make, like pop culture every day? How can we bring that into lesson? Like the lesson would be different for each school.
Yes.
Sure, it's a curriculum, but then it's like, well, what does this school need? Because I'm not going to assume that it's the same as this other school or this other group of kids because they're individuals. So at this school, y'all want to talk about, well, I mean, wasn't then when I was doing stuff, but like now if somebody was like, we just saw Lil Nas X do this thing and make this tweet, then I'd be like, great, I'm going to bring that into the lesson, make it relevant to you and talk about what does this have to do with homophobia or transphobia?
That's literally what I was going to say. I feel like for Black schools, right, it's kind of through like a societal lens. And I want, whereas like because I've taught at quite a few white schools, and when I see like their sex ed curriculum, it kind of scares me. If I'm being
what scares you about it?
Girl.
What was the little monster under the bed?
She was like, we're teaching them the 3 forms of penetration.
What?
Anal, vaginal, and orally. I was like, oh my God. I literally looked like that. I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, and in my mind, I was like, what is the importance of this? I guess I'm honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what the importance of it is.
Yeah.
If I'm being brutally honest, I think for like why that would be important is for the sake of like identity. Everybody may not want to engage with these parts, but I still don't understand like, it's a lot to go into it, and I don't want to go too far in that rabbit hole. But when I think about like if that was to be brought to like a Black school, it's only through like you should treat women this way or you should treat people this way type of thing, where it's like, but where is like still the access to learn about their bodies?
Yes. Let's talk, that's one thing that's relevant, intimacy amongst Black men.
Yes.
Hello? Where is that in the sex ed curriculum?
Yeah.
Where is just the honoring of platonic relationships, period. But I think a lot of like people who are raised as femmes may understand that a little easier. But like the way that it is so homophobic, the way that like Black boys cannot be intimate with each other without it being considered gay. Like where is that?
Shit.
Where is that? Because first of all, what if somebody is gay? One,
right.
Internalized homophobia.
Why do you assume that every person in the room is straight?
Hello? 2, and then even if you're not gay, like you can't learn how to love your friends. You can't learn how to love your community. Why would you then see your body as something to be loved in a certain way? Treated with respect.
Yes.
Seen as soft. Where is that? So I think culturally relevant information is dire.
But I think that's what makes you such a special educator though, because you are able to like to see it, to call it out. I would never dare send a white person to a Black school to teach them sex education.
But it happens.
It happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, it fucking happens. But to see you and like to have a voice for that, I have opinions about Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. Honestly, fuck both of them. But I think that like that the sight of like those pictures that have been coming out of them lately, like hugging each other, and I think about what like the importance of moonlight and that, and just I follow a lot of black male teachers on TikTok, and they hug their students, they teach them how to groom themselves, and I think that is something really precious. Beautiful and special, and like about loving on yourself a little bit. How do you? What is? Oh shit! You had said something that was about pleasure that I had wanted to touch on, and it had completely like slipped my mind. But when we think about pleasure. Is pleasure always synonymous to sex? Because I know that like you can get pleasure from food, you can get pleasure from like endorphins, like, you know, I just finished a book and that's pleasure, right? But like, are they like, do pleasure and sex like always have to like run equal game with each other?
No, I don't think it should. I think we should decouple that idea. I really do. So I'm a pleasure mentor, so I work with clients one-on-one. I work with clients in, you know, setting up 2s and 3s if it's a couple or a throuple. And that's such a big part of what we do is like, first, how can we remove this idea that pleasure equals sex? And then you might have better sex after that if you actually realize all the other areas of your life that can bring you pleasure and joy. I think about pleasure in a few ways, like mentally, like the joy that it brings you, but also then it's about like your senses, you know, like how are you engaging your different senses and feeling pleasurable? It's very connected to sensuality for me. So yeah, I do think that there are people who are beyond foodies, right? But like they're into food like that. There's eco-sensualists who just...
Eco-sensualists.
Yes, which I'm like... Why do I feel like you might...
What's an eco-sensualist?
Might want to dabble in that. Somebody who feels like the earth is like essential being itself. And so if you see yourself like mirrored in the earth, then you are also like that kind of sacred sensual being.
You know something? Like, yeah, like when I take shrooms and like am like sitting on the earth with my pussy in the soil, I nut a little bit.
Hello?
And it's just like... I'd be like, oh, my dick. Oh,
that's
so
exactly.
Hard. Yeah, the earth definitely be making me come.
That
like,
part.
Also, like when I look around in earth, an eco-sensualist, I gotta get that tatted on my forehead. No, I should probably get that tatted over my butt cheek. I want a butt tattoo, like a tramp stamp.
Yes.
And
reclaim tramp stamps.
Please do. Yeah. And I wanted to say eco-sensualist. So like when I'm having anal sex, it's like,
bow.
You're in the core.
You in the core. Absolutely.
Let's get to the core. Okay, so an eco-sensualist. Teach me another term.
What's another term? Ooh, I forget this one. My friends did tell me a term about one that is about food. So like think eco-sexualist, but the way that people have relationships with food. And I forget what that term is. Somebody will have to look that up for me and fact check. But it's the relationship between you and food, and seeing food as this source of life, as this sensual experience, as not just something that you do for energy and go, but it's like a whole realm of like, what am I tasting? What am I seeing? What am I smelling?
Palate,
How do who made this? And like the act of making food and then it digesting, like that's a whole thing too. There's a limitless way to be involved in sensuality, to be involved in pleasure, that I think sometimes sex is the least interesting one for people. Enter ace folks who teach everybody that.
Enter ace?
Asexual folks. Like they're the ones that teach us that.
I actually wanted to talk to you about that. I'm trying to get all the questions. I'm trying to get all the questions. I don't take this lightly. I'm making a complete presumption here, so correct me if I'm wrong. But this shorty be getting paid to tell niggas how to fuck, and I think that's the rawest thing that you could do. It's what I do, but for white men. I think that's the rawest shit in the fucking world. But like you for the people. And that's important, so I'm gonna always praise you. But damn, I lost this mezcal. Can I have some more? I'm having fun. Carla, are you judging me? Are you judging me, Carla?
Bow.
Oh, he's like, I'm laughing with you.
How much do you believe that? This shit is strong, so is that enough? No. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Okay. And that bottle is yours, by the way.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
Open up my night.
I am a hoodwife. I take care of my partners. I make sure
I need to, yes. I was going to say, what does that mean to you? But I don't want to get you
I
off
got
track,
you. I got you.
We will go back.
So we have sex, pleasure,
Yeah.
and kinks.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Kinks, yes.
Okay. And they don't always have to be synonymous or like equate.
Kinks-
We got sex and pleasure.
Kinks can be sexual, kinks can be non-sexual. I think they're all people go back and forth on this. Me and my coworkers were just having a conversation about this because one of my coworkers is teaching a phenomenal workshop soon, I think this week. And we were having a conversation about how we think kink is maybe inherently sexual, like something that kink is anything that is non-normative when it comes to sex.
Non-normative meaning non-normal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not normal, not common. And like that's defined by society's standard.
Okay.
So if like feet is not considered a normal part of sex for most people, so if you're into feet, it's a kink. In my opinion, I wish
that honestly just got normalized. Like I feel like it really just now like
I'm like, y'all been licking toes this whole time, but like nobody talks about it
and
till
niggas
2 days
kind
ago.
of use it as like a card of like how they're so grown. I'm like, bitch.
Yes. Oh, they love to be like, yeah, don't worry, I eat booty, I eat that. I'm like,
all right.
That's
So do
we've all
I,
been doing
Blair.
that.
What are we doing?
But I want a world where there is no such thing as a kink. That's like my dreamland, because why it's just another like marginalization of something, right? Like you like something outside of the norm, so now it's labeled as a kink. That's my dream world. We're not there, so like
Yes.
I honor the kink world and kinks as it is now, but like anything that's non-normative is considered a kink. So I think it derives from sex, but I don't think it has to be sexual for you. Like rope tying could be sexual for somebody, but not for the next person.
Right.
They like it aesthetically.
Yeah.
They just like how it feels.
the art of it.
Exactly. They like either doing it, watching it, it being done to them, but it doesn't make them feel sexual anyway. For somebody else, that turns them on. That could be their whole sexual experience. So it just depends upon the person. But I think even if it's not sexual for you, paying homage to the fact that this is something that a lot of people either keep underground or have to then wear really proudly out loud, that like they're into kink sexually.
Okay. So you talked about this. What was the term?
Non-normative?
Non-normative. A kink is a non-normative thing, right? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Okay. So what is the line? Honestly, getting real and real kind of here. What is the line of like, oh, that's not a kink. You're just a creep.
Oh.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because like I think it's some things that are like non-normative that like are like kind of cool. Like I think furries are awesome. Like, you know, yeah, I want to fuck in a mascot suit. I want to rub tails.
Yes.
With somebody.
What kind of tail are you wearing in this?
Oh,
in this?
a foxtail.
Okay.
A foxtail.
Okay.
A foxtail. But I was talking to Rich and I was like, I would get fucked by Knuckles from Sonic.
Ooh, I don't know, but I'm gonna try to envision. Tell me what this character is.
Sonic, you know
I know Sonic,
and then
yeah.
Knuckles, he was the black and red one.
Okay.
Yes.
Better.
But then there's also other things that I do not think are kinks. I do think that are just like actual.
Tell me what you think is creepy. Like what you asked about this line.
I mean, like honestly, okay, so like age play.
Oh.
Age play gets a little OC to me, if I'm being brutally honest. And I'm not speaking out of a place of shame. I'm speaking out of pure
you're
inquisition, right?
Yes.
How agey are we talking here? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, oh, daddy, right? And like, I don't know about baby talk. I can't do that.
But then what's like that's the thing.
Right.
What's the line? Because who are you to say that like, yeah, daddy's great, but baby talk is not, right? It's all amongst age play in a way, but like some of it feels different than others, I'm sure, to some people.
Right.
But that's kind of why it's hard to say this thing is quote unquote creepy, because to somebody else, you either being a daddy to somebody or being called daddy or calling someone daddy is creepy.
Right.
So like who's
Facts.
to say? So I mean, honestly, if it's creepy if somebody isn't consenting, because then that's not cool. Like then we're not in a situation that's about pleasure, right?
Facts.
So if somebody's doing age play and the other person really doesn't want that, now we're fucked. Now we're talking about a different thing. But if both people are like, this person wants to be in a diaper and this person doesn't want to be in one but wants to talk to the person in the diaper in a baby voice, who's to say? Like,
who's to say?
I think it's hard because not all kinks, to be so clear, not all kinks stem from a place of trauma. But I think some do for some people.
Right.
I think that's how a lot of people reclaim things that have happened to them, experiences, and feel good in their body, because you can't change things that happened to you, that people did to you, but how do you then move forward in your body and your experience? And so for some people, some trauma can be healed through kink, whether it's like solo kink or kink with other people. And so I'm like, I mean, what people do to heal themselves, I'm not one to say like yes or no to that. If you want to be in it, then be in it.
Facts.
And I feel like if I have a ick to it, it's probably my own judgment.
An ick to it. I like how you say ick.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate you for holding me down through that discourse.
Cheers.
What is a good way to engage a kink with somebody, or to say, hey, this is what I'm into? Like, what if like I want, what's a OC kink that I would do? Because I'm like kind of fun. I'm like really fun and sex. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's.
You said I'm down.
Yeah, okay. Like, okay. Can we play some sexy music? We'll do it.
Yeah, what you got?
You
said my voice. That's what we got.
Okay, so hey baby. I'm really happy to have you here for dinner. I wanted to talk to you.
What?
We've been sharing intimate space with each other for some time. And I would love if we can do something new with each other.
Like what?
I want you to piss on me.
Crickets.
What do you do? How do you make that? How do you make expressing? Oh, and sing. How do you make expressing a kink sexy?
Honestly, I don't know if the goal is to make it sexy if y'all have never talked about it. I don't know if I would just be like, hey, I'm gonna pee on you. Like, maybe if that's the relationship that you have with somebody and like y'all are used to bringing up new things in sex.
Okay.
But to me, other people could do differently. I feel like that's an out of sex thing to be like, hey, we haven't talked about this thing. I'm into this thing. What do you feel about it?
Facts.
And that's your example is quite literally me. Like that happened where I was like, I haven't really done piss play. But I'm really into like squirting on people, and like that's a release, and so I don't know why not. Like this other thing could be interesting too, and it's easier to control than squirting. Like you can piss when you want to. You can piss when you want to.
That's a fact.
Right.
That's a fact. Honestly, golden showers are trending right now.
They go in and out of style, but yes, people do love. They do. People really love them. I met somebody in the sex work world that was really into it, and then I found this whole niche of people that love to do like perform that kind of work for people, and people eat that shit up. So whole worlds, but like I would bring that up outside of sex, and I wouldn't need, in my opinion, to make it seem sexy, because I want it to be okay if this other person doesn't like it and isn't into it or doesn't want to try it with me. So I'd be like, hey, first of all, do you want to talk about sex right now? Can I tell you this thing I've been thinking about? Can I tell you this thing I've been fantasizing about?
Facts.
They say yes, and I say, I think I might be into this, or I don't know if I'm into this. Can I try it with you?
Can I try it with you?
Yeah, like, have you thought about it? Have you done it? Do you want to do it? And this is why I think, especially people who, even if you're not partnered in a committed way, but like your fuck buddy, if y'all been fucking for a long time, what's a yes, no, maybe list? Like, if I already know that's a hard no for you, I'm not going to bring it up. But if we haven't talked about it, then it's fair game to have a conversation at least.
A yes, no, maybe list.
Yes. Yes.
Now, honestly, that sounds fun.
Doesn't it?
That really sounds fun. I think that's what I mean. Like, not make a kink sexy, because I don't want to like romanticize things, so to speak. But I think fun is the word I'm looking for. But like to like sit down with somebody and be like, what's a wish list of things that you would like to get into?
Wish list.
And then like, what are your absolute hard no's, and like some like things that you like think about when you're taking a shit in the morning.
Right. Ooh, I love the term of a wish list though.
That's fire. Okay, so guys, what we do is that we make a wish no list.
Wish and a wish no list.
A wish and a wish no list.
Yes.
What is on your wish list?
Oh, what's on my wish list?
Not to be presumptuous, but I feel like your sex life probably fire.
I mean, I like my sex life.
That's good.
I'm in a whole, that could be a whole other conversation, but I'm in a whole new realm of how I think about sex with myself and other people right now. It's totally different, because my idea of how important sex is to me and in what way has changed in the last 2.5 years or so, due to the world and just all the time indoors and how I've been able to see myself and my body and my gender. Sex work played a big role in me feeling disconnected with my own pleasure for my own self and not for others for a while. So there's just been a lot of changes. So yes, do I love my sex life? Do I love sex? Yes. And at the same time, it's not the most important thing in the world to me anymore, and it's not what defines my value and my worth, which it did for a very long time. Yeah. Very long time. But we can circle back to that. But what's on my wish list? Piss play is on there. Okay. Either to be peed on or to pee on somebody. Facts. What else is on there? I feel like I've done a lot of things that I want to do and don't do the things I don't want to do. Good for you. Oh, I would like to try a double-ended dildo. That sounds really fun. A double-ended dildo, like with somebody or to yourself? Well, I guess you could do both. I mean, with somebody, so then like both people have to ass or scissor. Yeah, any way that you're both being penetrated at the same time. That sounds really fun. That does sound fun. Right? I don't even have one. Like, I haven't purchased one, and honestly, I think if I don't have it, how am I ever going to use it? So I should probably get it so then it's possible for me to use it at some point. But what's another thing on my wish list? I feel like those are the only two big ones right now. I'm honestly, like, I don't know why. What is piss play or the proper terminology? Yeah. Or golden shower? Either one. Okay. Either one. Because it's been on my mind lately. I don't know if it's because of the trend, but I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I can completely understand how that could feel good. Yeah. Like, when you're taking a shower, I piss in the shower. Same. Okay. I don't know who wouldn't. I don't know what reality. I'm like, it literally goes to the same fucking place. And honestly, when I try to pee before the shower, I can't pee. But as soon as the water touches me, because your body's warm, it's relaxed. Yes. I'd be like, oh shit, I have to pee. There it goes. But like when you're taking a shower with someone, I guess like it sort of happens. But on some drunk shit, would I be like, I'll sit on, like if we both gotta pee, and I'll sit on the toilet, I'll be like, try to see if you can like piss in that little space. That's fun. And so a lot of times it gets on my pussy. But I'll be like, oh, wow. But if I could, I would work my way up to chest. I'd be like, yeah. At least on my chest. But yeah, that's for now, since I haven't done it, that's my boundary. I don't think I want it at my face or anything right now, but like chest down sounds really fun. Yeah, and it's really warm. It is really warm. Yeah, it feels soothing, I'm sure. How do you explore kinks with yourself? Something I haven't done a ton with myself, because that is something I learned recently in the last year. I didn't even think about it like that. I was like, wait a minute, you don't have to wait for somebody to explore kink. Now, there's certain things that you're like, I might need somebody else to do this thing. I literally cannot get myself down from the So sometimes you need another person or other people, but there are things you can do by yourself. First of all, if somebody's into rope, you can tie your own leg up. You can. You can tie your own legs up. Yes. You can role play with your damn self. Like, you don't need somebody to be in the scene with you, right? You could just be in your living room pretending to be a character and have your own role play. I literally talk to myself all the time. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing this? Exactly. That's beautiful. You can do whatever you want with yourself. You can practice any sort of like pain and sensation things with yourself. You can do your own hair pulling. You can do your own choking. You can use little tools like... You said, well, speak for your fucking self. Out of there. I actually never really thought about that. I mean, I guess the idea of like walking around in a maid outfit by myself would really satisfy me. Would really bring me pleasure. You are a full circle person. It was a great like training that I did last year. I was like, why have I never thought about this? And so ongoing education. Like, we don't know all things. We continuously learn. If we can, we talk a lot about sex work here, and I appreciate you for sharing your story and your discourse on it. I too am a sex worker, and I'm really inspired by like how you talk about it from a place of joy. Not to say that there is no shame around sex work, because I don't believe that in its entirety. Yeah. And that's not everybody's situation, right? I think that when I was younger,
I didn't realize that I was in sex work until I had got much older.
Wow.
And like understanding the exchange of like goods for services.
Wow.
Like, you're 16, you're homeless, you need a place to stay, it's this older man's taking care of you. What the fuck is that?
Yes.
Literally, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And so like, you know, you grow up and you're telling these stories, and then like, you know, this brand gets glossed around you, and so, you know, you're a sex worker.
Hello.
And it works. But I think that that's the idea of choice comes in.
Ooh.
And how like choice can be like how people only prioritize choice by privilege, which I really think that is.
I think that's so true.
Yeah.
I think that's me. I had the privilege to choose.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a situation where I had no other means of income or that I could not somehow figure out how to support myself, and this was either the option that was most available to me or the only option. There are so many people, how many queer trans people can't get jobs?
Yeah.
And they're like, well,
Yeah.
here we are then. Like, this is
Yeah.
my option. And so that is very different than the sex work I was doing. It was by choice. It was, I went into it with hopes of feeling liberated and hopes of being like, I'm gonna turn this tale on its head. Like, I want this to be a story that I come out victorious. And I had a lot of goals and hopes and dreams and visions, and not all of them came true because there's a reality of what sex work is. But I mean, I know there's a privilege and choice because I come from a line of sex workers, but like, they wouldn't call themselves sex workers. They tricking, they doing like, it's just, that's what it was.
Yes,
like,
that's literally what it was.
back in the day, you a woman, like, you can bake
tricking.
inside the house and sell that. You can sew clothes. You can do anything from the home, but like, you can't go out and work. You can't get a job. You can't, how are you bringing in money for your family? Or what if you're a single mother? How are you bringing in money? Like, times are different. Environment is different. So you sell your goods, you sell your services, and that's just another good, another service. But so for me, I knew, I'm like, this is fully a different privilege to step into. And so I wanted to have a queer ass experience as a sex worker.
Yeah, let's talk about it if you don't mind sharing. I mean, we'll drop links if there's links that you want us to share.
Oh, not active anymore.
Okay,
not active.
But we support here.
Yes.
We support your local sex worker, guys.
Absolutely.
Guys, pay for OnlyFans. I mean, if I'm being brutally
Pay
honest.
for something.
Everybody's
I don't care
like,
what you pay for.
Bro, you really pay for OnlyFans? Yes. Yes, nigga.
Also, you can tip on Pornhub. Don't act like, yes, it's a different world out there now.
It really is.
People talking about these things, the talk of OnlyFans in like 2021 and 2020 and all that.
It's Patreon for hoes.
Yes. Like, you can tip. I have tipped people on Pornhub before. It's because I'm like, well, I just watched that for free. That doesn't feel right.
And it's beautiful
so I'm
work.
gonna pay you.
Let's keep it going. Like, let's keep it fucking going. I honestly think that's the only way out if we really want to escape capitalism. Just like tip a sex worker or a stripper. But that's a whole nother tangent and rabbit hole. Can you, if you feel free to share, what are some of like pleasures that you have gotten from your sex work?
Oh, pleasures I've gotten. I really formed a new relationship with my body hair through sex work.
Yes.
I had no idea, E'mon, the way that I have not shaved my legs, shaved my armpits, shaved my pussy, shaved anything since 15,
Bush
16.
girls out.
Yes. So I didn't know that was going to be niche. I didn't know that made me different than other people when I came into sex work, because I'm coming from my queer ass community.
Right.
That's not nobody looks twice at your legs.
In the gay community, having body hair is a business card.
When you don't, they're like, whoa, a doll. Like,
a doll.
Shit.
I
mean, I remember posting pictures, and all of a sudden I was getting these comments of like just talking about my hair, and I was like, wait a minute, y'all, do you see what I just did in this scene? Like, and I was like, oh, it's a niche. And I talked to one of my friends who is a sex worker, who I just called like my fairy hoe mother. I don't know if she knows that I call her that, but I do.
Your fairy hoe mother?
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Drea would also love that.
She just taught me a lot of what I know and gave me all the tips, and would talk to me anytime about when I was feeling frustrated with a client, or when I felt like I wasn't making enough money, or when I felt like I don't know how to stay creative. Like, we would just talk. And that was so helpful to have. Otherwise I would have felt so alone, not knowing anybody in this field. But yeah, she was like, you should lean into this niche. Like, I'm in the community. There's a whole group chat of like hairy content creators, and like we boost each other up and like share clients and do I was like, oh, well, I realized there's no way not to lean into this, because I couldn't just put my photos out there and then try to get any old clientele. Unfortunately, when
you need a community.
When you're non-normative,
yeah.
you are going to be put in a category, whether you like it or not. And it just so happened to be a category I didn't mind profiting off of, and I didn't mind it being fetishized on me. So I was like,
because it's abnormal. Like it's
unfortunately,
it's normal to us,
right.
like to regular people, but
to the cool kids.
But to everybody else, like it's just like kind of this like weird fucking thing. I honestly think that like body hair porn and like bush porn doesn't get enough fucking love. No. It's nothing better than seeing a bunch of gruel tapped in pubes. Like you ever had somebody with facial hair like eat you or like
not actually?
Oh wait, I'm sorry.
I haven't actually. Tell me what it's like.
Well, I was gonna describe a visual.
please.
Them coming up and they have facial hair and it's dripping from their facial hair, and it's like, oh, that's a great visual. So I would imagine that in pubes it will also look good. I can't. Are you flexible?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How flexible?
What do you?
I don't want
jeans.
you to.
I'm like, what you want me to see right now? But yeah.
Would you be able to eat yourself?
Oh, okay. Wait, is that your standard of flexible? Because fuck no, who can do that? I don't think anybody's flexible. Then nobody would leave their house if they could do that. Like we wouldn't work.
Fuck no, I'd be stuck, literally, face and fucking pussy. But I guess I was trying to figure out what it would look like if I squirted.
Like, don't people remove ribs for that shit?
Yeah,
I'm just like remove ribs to give themselves blowjobs.
I don't know
if that's like fantasy fake news, but
I've definitely seen somebody do audio fellatio a few times before, not in person, but there's this YouTube channel called Cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Cut.
I love YouTube.
And they definitely be doing some shit on there, and I'll be like, okay, that's sort of fucking cool. I'm really into that.
Okay, cool.
Yes. I want to know, have you ever been to a sex party before?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about it? Because I really want to throw a sex party.
Oh, see, I couldn't tell you how to throw one because I didn't throw it, but I did go to one.
Okay.
That was cool. Is it just one? I think I've only been to one.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was like end of 2019 when I got into it, so there wasn't a lot of time left in the world as we knew it.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was coming, but yeah, Sex Kiki used to throw sex parties here. I don't know if you know.
I've actually heard of that name before.
Snaps. I don't know if they're actively doing much anymore, but Koriyama ran Sex Kiki, amazing person.
Beautiful.
And yeah, they were like, we gonna throw sex parties. It's queer centered. It's like BIPOC centered. It's gonna be great. So I went to one and it was amazing and it was overwhelming and it was anxiety producing. It was all the things because it was my first one. But what was great about them is that they were very trauma informed and like most of the people showing up, it was their first time. So you were stepping into a community that was very safe, felt really comfortable. They went over all the guidelines and just a whole bunch of things. They had people in the party you could tap anytime if you felt too anxious, if something happened and you were harmed, if you needed a breather, all the things.
Yes.
So, I mean, I wouldn't go to one again unless it was that
intricate and
curated and like safe. And so I don't think all of them feel that way from what I've heard from other people. So I'm not like jumping to go to one unless I trust the people running it and feel like I'm walking into an environment that feels good. But I just watched a lot of people have sex. Yeah. And it was great.
And I think that's beautiful.
I love that role. Like I love to watch, I love to be watched. So all of it is fun.
I would love to throw a sex party. I know that no sex party is supposed to start without a consent speech. And I'm really looking to do some more research, but I feel like I could throw a really good fucking sex party.
I don't see why not.
Like it'd be a mixture of like the Pink from P-Valley with just like good care, with like some good, sensual healing and care if it gets overwhelming, because I feel like that could be very overwhelming. It's just really
overstimulating to look around and see that many, like, whoa.
And I'm a person that reads everything in the face. So I'd be so fucking uncomfortable, like, and I don't want to look at that like sex, but it's like Do I look? Do I not look? Do I partake? Do I tip?
It's a lot. Yeah, I had to think about it. Like there was like rooms in public space, like common areas. So if people were fucking in the common areas, that's free. Like that's free reign. But I went into a room and like I asked like a couple that was in there, like, can I watch y'all? And they were like, sure. Yeah. So I just masturbated in the corner, like while they were, and then I didn't even like say anything. I just excused myself when I was done, and they were still having sex. So. I mean, ask is always just the easiest way to know if you can do something. But, like, there's lots of different realms and rooms and things in these parties. And, like, I could see you throwing a dope-ass party.
Thank you. Yeah. I really hope that you would be there.
Yeah, run it
up. If to kind of put the previous topic and this topic together, we kind of went on the conversation of community, right? And in full honesty and transparency, I think that finding a trusted sex community could be a little bit hard and complicated and complex, especially if you have careers that need to be the front face of you. Yeah. You can't really dabble in things as much as you would like to, so you always have to find finessable ways to engage, but also to bring pleasure for yourself.
Absolutely.
And also to share pleasure with other people that look like you, right? And I know that like while having an educational source or tool is important, and I don't really think that that's like all it needs to be wrapped in all the time, especially if like you have like familiarity with somebody, but like, you know, pleasure is always a learning experience, et cetera, et cetera. What are some resources that you can share, or like just ideas of how folks can, one, engage or create a sex community safely, positively, and not secretively, but not so public or forward? Like,
are you talking about sex work or just sex?
Sex community.
Okay.
Period. I mean, so
like people that you want to have sex with, or people that you want to talk about sex with?
That's actually a really good question, because I believe that I seek for an idyllic sex positive world, and I feel like a lot of sexual harm comes from sexual negativity.
For sure.
So that is what I ultimately strive to do.
Okay, so you just want a community around you that's also similar values, sex positive.
Yes, and also like I feel like that's what is being built here, but in full honesty with what I do outside of this, I think there is a little bit of chill that is required of me. And I don't really know how I feel about that. I'm still ultimately wrapping my feelings around that. But I want to know, like, for example, like, what are some safe ways to, like, cam? Like, I want to cam.
Ooh.
I want to cam, but, like, I have a grave fear about doing that because of what I do outside of this.
Ooh, okay. I'm not the best one for this because I never cammed. For that reason. For that reason, and I did not like live work. I really liked the curation of, I'm going to film this when the fuck I feel like it. I'm going to edit it how I want, and then I will send it when I want. And that was just something that I enjoyed.
Okay, facts.
So maybe I'm not the best one to ask, but what I've heard from other people is that there are, ways I don't even know how. There are settings that you can put, VPNs you can use, so you can say that you are in a state that you're not in. Like I don't know the ways around it, but I'm sure that there are just much more knowledgeable people out there than me that know the camming tips. But like, one, never say where you're at. You can use a VPN. There's some settings you can do in some places where you can make it look like you're somewhere else, because people can always somehow check on the back end. Like there are some creepy motherfuckers out there who are trying to find out information about you that you're not giving. Other camming tips, like not to have an entirely clear background besides like prop setups. But like if you have a photo still in the background of like you and your homie that you forgot to take down, somebody will look at that, screen grab that, and then somehow try to internet search for the other person or you. Like there are things, thinking about your environment when you're camming, what you say when you're camming, which is why I think a really brilliant
because of like language and etymology and things like that.
Ooh, that?
If I put my VPN to say I'm in Kansas or Wichita, and then
That's
I say,
Kansas,
and then okay, and then I say like tweaking or G, I am exposed.
It doesn't mean, I mean, granted, that could mean that you from Chicago, but then you don't live there anymore. But honestly, you're right. Like, people can pick up on context clues, which is why I say being your erotic alter ego is important.
Erotic alter ego.
Yeah, first of all, what's your cam name and what's your persona? Like, I'm hoping that you're not just showing up even if you're changing your name, but I hope you don't just show up as E'mon.
Right.
As shitty as that may sound to the real world, like normies and civilians, like sex workers know you don't do that.
Absolutely. I
had a really hard time with that in sex work. That was one of my hardest things, was like,
because you're like, I'm
myself.
I'm radical.
I was like, I'm me.
The world should accept me as I am.
Yes.
I get it.
But especially with camming, like, you're not showing up as E'mon, so who are you showing up as? And then you stay in that character, because that character is different than E'mon.
Yeah.
So that character may use different language, may be a different age than you, may, if you had no siblings, that character may have 3 siblings. Like,
Yes.
I don't know, but like something that keeps you in that realm, so you're separated from your personal information that could very much be used against you.
Yes, I definitely have an alias, and I love her very, very much.
Shout out to her.
Because I feel like I really do feel you and receive that. I don't really think that it brings me much pleasure to think that there's something that I need to be missed or removed away from because of like what I do, or like besides like what I do. And I'm like, I don't really think that's fair.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't like serve me. How do you like keep a balance? Like what's a good way to keep a healthy, intimate balance with yourself, considering or if you have to consider that there's like an outside part of you that would not provide that of you?
That's actually one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm running a sex worker support group this summer. I ran one in 2021. I'm running one this summer because, God, the way that I feel so like, even though I'm not an active sex worker anymore, I always say I'm a forever sex work advocate, because the way that I found other parts of me through that job and saw other sides of people, not just my clients, but like other people in the field, like got to know them in deep personal ways that I wouldn't have if we probably just ran into each other on the street. Like, I feel deeply for sex workers, and I know that I have a very limited perspective. Like, I was only doing online work. I don't necessarily know what all parts of sex work feels like, but yeah, so I run that group, one, so people can find community, because it's very fucking hard to find other sex workers, because you can't just be shouting that shit on the street like, where are my other hoes at? But then everyone's like, me, and you're like,
Are your ladies
no, paid hoes.
Like
Yes. So for that reason, but also talk about that exact question. How do you keep your personal life and work life separate, but in a way that doesn't like completely tear apart at you, and like you feel some kind of integration and joy? And so we talk about what does before and after care look like if you are going to the strip club to work, if you're camming, if you're about to make a video, if you're about to go, you know, be somebody's date somewhere. Like, what is your before and after care look like, so you can get into character, get out of character, and then like tend to the self that wasn't maybe allowed to like shine through while you were working. Like, there's, I mean, we could do a whole episode just on like what care looks like for sex workers, but I think there's so many good like tools to like help sex workers be an erotic person outside of being an erotic laborer. So sometimes, like, I've heard people's sex lives change when they're sex workers. They may be fucking themselves all day, or fucking others, or getting fucked all day, that like they don't want to fuck just, you know, as themselves when the day is over, when the work day is over. And that's hard. It feels like, where is my life? Where is my personal agency? Where's the line? And so it's conversations about like, how do you honor you outside of this? What are your work boundaries? How can you still be a sexual being on your own when all day you're used to your sexuality being used as a tool, that you're using as a tool to entice others or connect with others or help them connect with themselves? So it's a lot of like self-care work. And like, self-care, the term is very overused, and I think
but as Audre Lorde describes it, it's an act of preservation, therefore making it radical.
And that's, come on, and that's what it is. And so it's like community work and self-work for sex workers. How can you be in community with other people who get you and who you can talk shit about your job at the end of the day with?
This nigga ball stuck today.
Yes. Somebody asked me to shove panties up my coochie. Like, this is what it felt like today.
That's actually fire.
Yeah, I did that. Yes.
And he pulled it out?
Yeah, and then they wanted a slow pull.
That's actually fire.
Hot pink.
Yeah. I love that.
That was quite the video. But yeah, so like, how can you be in community with others? Because nobody knows how to take care of you other than other sex workers. They may not know, like, other people may not know. Maybe you just want to sit in silence next to somebody after like filming all day or marketing all day or whatever you do for your job. There also needs to be people who are not sex workers who can be your community, so they can assist you in some ways, like,
and also support you, and know just like just kind of think everything about you, if I'm being brutally honest, because sex work is kind of it is dangerous work, if I'm being honest. But I think like just having a trusted person to know of you, your whereabouts, everything like that, like a friend that you could trust with your location, like who just knows the ins and outs of you.
Yeah, so I never got into in-person full service work. A lot of it was during COVID for me, and the time that I finally did decide, I think I'm going to do this, I had a client that was going to come in person. It didn't work out, but I had a team. I had a team ready. There was at least 3 people who had my location, knew exactly what time I was leaving, what time I should get back, where I'm going, all the details that needed to happen. There was somebody who was going to drive me there, wait outside. Like, it's a team effort because I don't fuck around. Like, I'm not about to put myself in a harmful situation if I can help it, if I have the support. So like, who's around me? And they were all non-sex workers. People who were like, I'm willing to be your team. What do you need? What's the code words? Like, do we need, like, all the things? So you need community, but then also like sex workers need that self-care. Like, what does pleasure for you look like outside of sex to bring full circle, like outside of your job? So at the end of the day, like, how can you engage in a bath? How can you engage in food in a certain way? How can you engage in a walk in a way that like releases you from like the pressures of sexuality during the day or at night whenever you do work? And like, how can you connect in other ways? And then how can you keep sex sacred for yourself? And sacred does not mean, you know, anything about like consistency or the type of sex, but like whatever sacred means to you.
You sound like my therapist. Because I was talking to her about like we were talking about pricing, and I guess the conversation of pricing had came up because like I was feeling like I had to choose between like stability and myself, right?
Drink.
That mezcal is really good.
It's so fucking good.
I think I want some more. Have some more?
Go for it.
Do you want some more?
No, I'm good right now, but go ahead and do you.
But we were talking about pricing, or we were talking about stability and like how I have to choose any idea of sex work. I was doing dry January, which is a cleanse, where I was abstaining from drugs, sex, alcohol.
Oh, I saw you on Instagram. I heard the podcast episode. I'm caught up.
Thank you.
I'm caught up.
But it was like my trick was still wanting shit from me. And I'm like, bro, leave me the hell alone right now. Yeah. But I was like, but in full honesty, like, you know, I need some bread. Like, I need some this, I need some that. Like, so what is the sacrifices that I have to make of myself in order to keep me, like, stable? And that doesn't always feel good.
No.
It doesn't feel good.
No, but and that's the fucking problem, is that it doesn't feel like sex workers can say that, because then people who don't agree with sex work will then use it against you. Be like, and that's why you shouldn't like do that work.
Yes.
And that, and it's like, you complain about your fucking job all the time. Like, why can't I say I didn't want to do that today?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to work.
I'm just not in the mood.
Yeah.
I'm just not in the mood. And so I was like, she was like, well, you need to create your boundaries, right? And she was like, whatever you value, write down what your values are, and whatever protects those values, those are your boundaries.
Ooh, come
and
on,
I was like, Dr. Love be going in. She is the fucking shit.
Did you say Dr. Love?
Her name is
Shut
Love.
the fuck up.
Her name is Love.
You did not find a therapist named Dr. Love.
I did. A black woman named
Dr. Love. Shout out.
Hey.
Yes.
I'm meant to be healed.
Yes.
Because it's imperfect.
Said it.
No. But what we were talking about like just those communities and like honestly being really fucking honest with yourself about what this work can go into and what it can really bring out of you. I think that is what ultimately sets your price. And also you have to take into account, she was like, what about therapy? Like what do you need after every engagement? Think about what every little thing that you need, and that is the ultimate price that you set for yourself.
Yes.
So
yes,
I really appreciate that, and I really affirm that insight that she had. How do you, if we can, we had talked a little bit about asexuality.
Yeah.
This is something that's kind of been on my heart. To bring us full circle, when we was talking earlier, I really appreciate your candor for your mentality, right? Because I feel like what happens is that I understand that like depressive episodes cannot make your libido high, so to speak. But it doesn't really just feel like a depressive episode when it comes to like sensuality and sexuality. Sometimes I feel completely removed from it all, like sex, pleasure, kinks, like body touch, like all of that. And perhaps I am being a little bit egregious in descriptors, because I don't really think that's what all asexuality is about.
Right.
And I want to create space for that. So if you can, you know, I would like for us to unfold in this conversation a little bit about asexuality. Maybe you could tell us what that is,
for sure,
how that shows up.
For sure. So to be clear, I'm not asexual, so I can't speak from a personal experience. So number one person I would suggest following is Ace and Grace.
Ace
Instagram.
and Grace.
Yes.
Okay.
Ashabi, wonderful person here in Chicago. So first, listen to Ace folks.
Okay.
Ace just being short for asexual folks. And their descriptions of like what it feels like to come to that identity, how does it ebb and flow within that identity. There's a book that I'm reading right now about asexuality because I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to understand what don't I know. We live in a very sex-centered world. And so to think of anything outside of that is like we don't really know where to go. But there are so many folks that live on a day-to-day basis either not thinking about sex at all, thinking about sex sometimes, but maybe on a really low frequency. Sometimes they may engage in masturbation because that's just something they want to do with their body, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they find themselves being a sexual person all the time. They can dress however the fuck they want, even in a way that they're like, yes, like I'm a hoe, claim it, but it doesn't mean that they then want to have sex necessarily, or maybe that's just the aesthetic that they really like.
Right. I get that. I get that because like those things are not synonymous, right? Like I hate the word promiscuity so fucking much.
Yeah.
But like I get that. Like you can just, but you just said something like they may masturbate and not get pleasure from that, or
well,
not?
they could. So like I mean I'm just imagining because it's not me, but
of course.
There's like you can like to touch yourself in certain ways and feel sensation. I don't know what masturbation may look like for an ace person.
Right.
Maybe they have an orgasm, maybe they don't. Maybe it's not even about orgasm. Maybe it's just like I feel like touching myself right now, so I'm gonna do that, and I'm just gonna honor that feeling. Maybe that feeling comes every once in a blue moon. Like I'm not sure what it might feel like, but I know for them like sex may not be the most important way to connect with someone. They may not think about sex on a very frequent basis, and like that might not be something that happens at all or very rarely in like partnered relationships. So that's not like the basis of like connection and sensuality. And yeah, I mean, as someone who's not ace, I don't know what I can say about this, but I have heard folks saying like, I'm feeling like I'm in an asexual period of time.
Right.
Like I feel like, the last 6 months or the last year. I don't know how ace folks would feel about that, so I'm not going to be the judge of that. But like I've heard that language come out more and more, and so I don't know if that means that that's a thing, or if that just means we're attuning to the fact that our desires shift.
Yes.
That our bodily needs shift, that our mental health shifts.
Yes.
I think sexuality is so fluid. So like, is it possible that like for a while you may identify as ace and then you don't, or you don't for a while and then you do? I'm sure that that's a thing.
Okay.
I feel like I would caution folks to throw that around.
Right.
But again, I feel like I'm not the like say on this.
I appreciate that, and thank you for holding that discourse up, because I have talked to partners about it before, and I just be like, babe, I'm just like not feeling it. Like, and I don't know no other way to describe it. I will follow that person, but I'm a YouTube shorty.
Yes.
So like, like Jubilee and like Cut and like, just like channels that really talk about like empathy and like topics like that require a lot of nuance because of like the spread of the identities that it hold, right?
Yeah.
And in seeing a lot of like asexuality like videos of the sort, like, I don't know, I feel kind of like kind of found in that information, but I too am not one for throwing around words that I don't, experiences that I don't live.
Right.
You feel me? Because I am a sexual person, and sometimes I do have my dry spells. I don't know if it's my right to be like, oh, I'm asexual right now. Like that feels a little extreme to me, but I would just be like, sometimes it does hit me where I'm just like, I can't. Like, I literally just cannot.
Or it's just not even on your brain. Like, you're like, oh, wait, sex? What? I haven't thought about that in months. Like, who knows? So I don't know if there's a word for what that experience is. I feel like we're just really getting to a point as a society where we're talking about how deeply our ebbs and flows can be with sexuality. And I think everybody experiences that, but we don't really want to talk about that. And we have this idea that like sexuality is fixed, and not identity, but like our sexuality is fixed. And if we are, you know, high desire folks, then we're always going to be high desire. If we're low desire, we're always low desire folks. And I'm like, no, like your chemistry with a partner can change that. Your mental health can change that. If you have a big shift in life, like moving or having children or getting together with someone or breaking up or whatever it is, a health scare, like all of these things can shift your sexuality,
right.
like your desire for sex, your arousal, your like all of that can change. So I'm like, maybe if we just had a more normal idea of like making it common that we don't experience sexuality the same in a given year, let alone in a given month, then maybe we wouldn't need as much language to be like, do I identify as this? Because it's either, it seems like I love sex and I think about it and I have it, or I'm asexual. And there's a lot more in that.
It's a lot more in it. That's a pretty big get. That's a pretty big ass leap.
Yeah.
That's a big ass leap.
Yeah.
If we can talk about queer sex a little bit in especially in partnerships and relationships, right? Okay, so we're probably, I don't want to be presumptuous, right? But as dealing with like a person who has like a queer partner that's a man, right? Having a queer partner that's a man. And what is a way and a suggestion that you may have of how we can engage sex with each other that isn't so much on the threesome end, but that is explorative of like our identities and like their queerness.
Yes.
Is that a good? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Okay,
and
cool.
I love that question. First of all, if you're not involving another person, which I don't think you need to explore that. One, how do you remove the roles that are already imposed on both of y'all? Even if you're both queer, there are probably still roles that you may assume that you should take on. Or that you assume the other person should take on.
Facts.
So having a very fucking candid conversation about like, what do you expect of me in sex? Or what do you expect of yourself in sex? What expectations do you come into into play with? And then figuring out how to remove those. So y'all are just two bodies that come together to play with each other. That probably opens up so much more room for pleasure.
Okay, removing the roles.
Yeah, remove the roles.
Okay.
B. Let's just for a second like take genitals off the table. Okay. That's something I might say to clients if that seemed useful. How can we explore every other part of each other's bodies? So it almost removes this idea of like penetration being the center, orgasm being the goal, all of that. Like, how can do we like armpits? Like, how can we explore armpits? How can we explore each other's chests? How can we explore legs? Like
the whole
back?
body. The whole fucking body.
Yeah.
You are literally talking about so many Lucille Clifton poems right now.
Hey,
you should really look up hips.
Yeah.
Because she says that in that poem too. Pardon me.
Well, remember.
Yes.
Remember
Okay,
hips.
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Explore the whole body.
Explore the whole body and then bring in genitals when you're ready again. And when you do, like, what are other things you can do with them or other ways you can treat them? Are there other names they want to be called? Like, how can y'all go about things in like a blank slate way? Like without this, what's called like a sexual script. And this sexual script is like a penis owner and a vagina owner get together and it's like a round peg and a hole.
A penis owner walks into a bar.
Yes, exactly. So it's like throw all of that out.
Okay.
And then how can we explore each other's bodies? How can y'all use sex toys in non-normative ways? There's that word again. The wand is like one of the most popular toys out there, right? For like vulva owners. Penis owners can use that too. Wands can be used on penises.
I would love a vibrating dick inside of me. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, wands can be used on like any part of the body. Like, how can we get creative and just throw out what we think we know? Also, if you're missing this element of like somebody else, porn. Like, how can y'all watch like different kinds of porn with each other and either watch it and have the sex y'all normally have, watch it and mimic things, watch it in role play, watch it in like, there's just so many ways to like queer sex.
I love that. I have mucho. I'm a Rent. I watch Rent. La Vie Boheme. Mutual masturbation. I have mutual masturbation. And we both were like watching, like we were like laid across from each other, but we were both watching our own porns.
Amazing.
And then like we switched our porns to see what the other person was watching. And it was really fun.
Yes.
I was watching a form of hentai. I was watching a troll fuck a little tinker fairy.
Love it.
We know this. And I think they were watching like some good ebony shit. Some good ebony shit.
Yeah.
But that was a really good moment.
That sounds fun. See, I haven't done that where we switch the porn, so I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
What's a good sex game? What's the sex game that you got?
Ooh. A good sex game. Okay, this is not one that I actually did with a partner, but that I facilitated for a group, was to create your own dice, like kind of like origami. Yes. Create your own like 3D dice. Write on different sides of the paper dice of like things that you want to do, and then roll it, and then just like play and see what comes up, see what happens.
So with the work that you do, like you go to people's houses I
could
and watch them.
Oh no.
Coach them.
No. No. The only time I've gone to people's houses is if people come to Kiana, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to teach a workshop in person."
Okay.
So that I've done at people's homes, where it's like a group of friends, and then we talk about whatever the workshop is together. But no, I don't go and watch people have sex.
Okay.
That would have been something I would be down to do as a sex worker, like as my sex work persona. It just didn't come up.
When I was a shorty, I had a best friend, and we held each other down.
Shout out, bestie.
Yeah, we were each other's rock, and we lived many lives with each other, and ultimately sex working with each other, like around. And so like we've watched each other have sex plenty of times, recorded each other have sex plenty of times, like just like being young and like two sad, depressed Black girls just holding themselves and like
absolutely
a lot of acid and things like that, and just really figuring it out. But that was my first time like doing something like that. But honestly, like my youthfulness is what has brought so much sexual courage from me, and I'm really honestly kind of proud of that. And that's why I want to continue to carry it throughout my life and not let other areas of my life consume that or take those pieces away from me. Yeah. Because I think it is a blessing when you are able to receive sex while you have trauma attached to you, but still receive it out of joy too. And I think that that's like a lot of things to like exercise and work on. Do you have exercises, like exercises and suggestions? I know we mentioned like exploring kinks with yourself. We covering shit.
Yeah, you said I'm ready. I have all the questions.
Exploring kinks with yourself. Oh my God, so much shit. But toys and just I guess like a lot of mirror work and things like that.
Yes.
What's a good suggestion of keeping a young, youthful sexual spirit with yourself? And I don't mean to question that in an ageist way, so to speak, but I mean, I think sex goes with ages. Like,
it could, right? Like, it could. It could. There's something to some people in their like youth that they feel potentially more adventurous, but at the same time, I know some people who it's until they get to a certain age that then they feel like I've now lived enough life that I know myself well enough 40s. And I'm most confident now that I can explore. Queer and trans people, I think that they break that boundary somehow. And for them, sometimes it's not until later in life, if they've come out later, transition later, they're like, now I'm experiencing sex in a youthful way or like in the most adventurous way. So I'll swap that word and say like, how can people have either really engaging sex or like adventurous sex? I mean, solo sex, I think informs a lot of how you have partnered sex. So it does not mean that if you're not having the most adventurous solo sex, you can't have adventurous partnered sex. But I do think that what you learn about yourself with yourself can inform what you do and how you do things with other people, and vice versa. What you do with others can inform what you do by yourself. But I think the way to stay most engaged, to stay most adventurous, is to keep learning with yourself, to stay adventurous with yourself, and continue to watch, listen, read shit, because you're not the only source, right? Like, you and whoever you're with, even if you're in a monogamous relationship, like, y'all two don't have to be the only people coming up with shit. Do you listen to sex stories? Do you read sex stories? Do you watch erotic media? And it doesn't even have to be sex, right? Like, do you just watch like sensual things, sexy things? Like, where are you getting your inspiration from? Are you talking to friends about your sex life? Because that's something I realized for a lot of folks decreases as they get older. When they're young, it's fun, right? Because it's like, it's new, it's adventurous, and also it's a little like, hee, like, did you suck his dick? Like, I did too. And you talk about it. But when people get older, and when people are in long-term relationships, they stop talking about their sex life. So I'm like, talk about it with people that you're not having sex with, because that's the most fun way to be like, oh, I see the thing now, because I'm not talking to my partner. I'm not in sex right now. I can see that. Or like, oh, you did. I'm going to bring that back to sex with my partner, or like my partners. Like, keeping things interesting by like using other sources, whether it's platonic friends, sexual media, whatever it is.
And I think that honestly, what you're speaking on is, to me, sounds like just like allowing people to be full people.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of I really want to feel like I can have platonic friendships with like men. And I do think that it is possible. I'm not really like so triumphant to that point, right? But I do think that like those conversations, like what's the boundaries of those conversations? But I imagine that like with people that you do have community with, that you do have friends with, like over dinner and wine and just talking about like your own experiences and stories, and allowing your partners to have those conversations with other people too is like equally important.
Yes.
What is a finessable way? What is a finessable way of pleasure? Because sex toys are expensive.
What's a finessable way?
Sex toys are expensive, bro.
Fuck. Oh man.
Cucumbers?
I mean, hey.
No.
I mean, hey. I mean, you could do so much, right? Like, it depends on what you're into, but like, here's something that's free.
Okay.
Do you like to be watched?
Okay.
Can you be watched by somebody else and like keep sex interesting? Or like, can you play with like masturbating like underneath like your window, if you have a window, so like nobody can see you but you can see the public? Like, I don't know, what's the what can you do to make things interesting? So like, that's not necessarily a toy, but it's thinking like, what's free?
That's free pleasure.
And how can I get interesting? Are you sitting on top of your dryer? Like, I don't know. I don't have an in-unit shit, so I don't know what that feels like. But for people who
shit
do,
is in the basement.
Right, I can't do that at my place. But if you can, like, what does that look like for you? Can we go old school? Can we hump a pillow? Like, why not? Can we like use the things that are around the house? Like, how do we get free, pleasure, but also stay safe? Like, don't just put anything, especially if it's penetration or like touching your genitals. Be clean, be safe, wash things if you're going to use things. Sex toys are not sex toys, so
can we talk a little bit? Thank you so much. Can we talk a little bit about sex toy etiquette? We did touch on that. Shout out to Samira Tree. Make sure that y'all see their episode. We were talking about strap-ons. Love them. You do?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
They're not a main part of my sex, so they feel like a surprise guest when it comes in, and it's like play the little clip of like, that's how it feels like when the strap-on comes out, of like a little round of applause, and then we might not see it again for like 4 months.
Can you give some like good tip advice for strap-ons? I understand that you're supposed to just you buy a new strap-on per person. That's
if you want to.
But you don't have to.
That's fucking expensive. Who's doing that out here?
I thought that like, even if you boiled them, that doesn't make them clean.
Look, I would have to fact check that. Okay. I don't know. Okay. And maybe it's just because I was not monogamous for years, and I'm like, the person that used the strap with me used it with other people too, and that wasn't a problem for me. Like, we also talked about that. Right. So like, the idea of buying one for a new partner, I'm like, some people have multiple partners at once. Like,
it's so
I don't think that's a thing that people can do.
Right. So
what
you
if you
do
had
boil
like
them.
20 sexual partners? You have 20 dildos? I don't think so.
There was Brenda, Letitia.
Condoms, y'all. Then like use condoms with your dildos. Like you don't have to just go. You can go raw with strap-ons too, or not.
Or not. It never honestly came to my mind putting a condom on my dick.
I mean, that's like ways to have like conscious sex when you're having sex with multiple people. It's like even with a strap.
Okay, but my thing about the strap-on is like it's like the angle, and then like it's like kind of like the belt makes it not like go in. Like what's some good
it's also like where are you putting it on your body, because that's
you don't just have to put it on your hips, huh?
No, of course not. But like even if you are putting it on your hips, for me, like it's a learning curve for me. Like being the person who's wearing a strap is still new for me. So I'm finding my own groove, my own rhythm, how these hips work. But these hips,
yes.
I was like, I want it to be right where my clit is so then I can feel
the pleasure.
But honestly, that's not the best angle for somebody else is what I learned. So I'm like, okay, we gonna move it up.
Okay.
We gonna do something different. Maybe it might sit like where like my pubic bone is, or like, I don't know. It's wherever it needs to go to get the right angle for the person receiving the dildo, in my opinion. Or like you mentioned, like it can go on your thigh. Like there's harnesses, like strap-ons for the thigh specifically, and somebody can ride your thigh. Like there's so many ways to engage in like strap-on culture.
Yes. What is like the ultimate pleasure that you wish for Black queer people?
Oh man.
Is that too big of a question?
It's such a big fucking question. Because the first thing that came to my mind is just like no shame.
Yes.
But then, there's a part of me that wants to push beyond that and like think outside of shame. But I think because the world we live in right now, that's my dream is no shame. And because I don't even know the type of sex that we would all be having if we didn't carry that.
Yeah.
I don't.
I feel that. I mean, yeah, I think just as like a Black people, Black, brown, indigenous people, queer, trans people, it's so much shame instilled in us to be normal.
Yeah.
And then like you're living like your body is a politic. And it's used as a football for every single thing. And it's hard to seek pleasure in that when you so much. So I really think that the work that you do and how you empower people and just being a real ass educational source that holds people accountable. I really appreciate you for teaching me like, accountable vernacular and dialogue. Like, oh, it doesn't have to be this, or it could be this, but it's also in a tender way. Like, you always want someone to teach you something that feels as good as the thing that is being taught to them.
Yeah.
And you are perfectly perfect. Like,
thank you.
I really appreciate you, and just thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for bringing me here. You brought up all the good shit. That was like the most fun podcast I've done.
Yes.
You hit all the things and then brought them all full circle.
Yes. I love that. That mezcal. I was in it.
Puts you in the right space.
May I ask you, what is a hood wife to you?
Oof. Okay. So we did bring it there. I thought about it because I knew you were going to ask.
Yay.
And, my answer could change. My answer could evolve. But right now, I think it's anybody of any gender. Anybody who is down with the cause, sometimes to their own detriment, though. Like, sometimes feeling like they need to be too ride or die, that, like, they may push up against their own boundaries, or they may not have boundaries of their own. So like, I don't know, somebody, her wife could be like, nah, I'm boundaried as fuck. I'm a ride or die until. Yeah. And other people, I've seen it and feel it where I'm like, for some, the hood wife culture feels like, nah, I do whatever, whenever, for whoever I've dedicated myself to be a hood wife for. So like, I don't know. It depends upon the person, but I'm hoping that all the hood wives are like, nah, I know what I wouldn't do and what I would do.
And all the hood wives have no shame.
Hello.
That's what we working towards.
That's what we work towards.
We working towards.
These the goals.
Kiana, can you please tell us where we can find you, how we can support you in any and every which way? Like
all the ways.
All the ways, please.
Yes. So Instagram, for my personal Instagram, is Healing is Imperfect. I just be talking my own stuff, my own shit. I share my own stories. I post when I do online workshops, in-person workshops. There'll be a lot more of that this year because I want to be out in community. And then also, like, my other work is with the Expansive Group. So you can find us at the Expansive Group.
Shout out TG.
Yes, that's where you can find my pleasure mentoring work if somebody wants to be a client. All the beautiful therapists that we have. We have so many that are just fucking beyond brilliant that I learned so much from. And then also the Queer Sex Therapy page, which is kind of like the home that started TEG.
Okay, well, I really hope to book you for my sex party.
Come on.
Or like a poetry workshop with
Something.
that'll be fire.
Yes.
Some spell making.
Ooh. Yeah, that one.
Well, that was a good fucking episode. Well, everybody, you all have tuned in for another episode of The Real Hawaii Chicago, a real show with hot sauce stories. I'm your host, E'mon Lauren. This production was brought to you by BlkHoneyBun Productions and associated with Rise Above and Prosper. Thank you, Carlo. Love you, Carlo. We also want to give a very special thank you to the Let Us Breathe Collective for the wonderful space of the Breathing Room. And this Kiana, wait, oh shit, we got it. Hold on. And this is The Real Hawaii Chicago, a real show with hot sauce stories.
Can you fuck me like you really want to? Can you love me like you do your hustle? Can you feed me past the food and grubbing? Can you clean me like it's church on Sunday? In the tubbing, scrub a dubbing, clean the fountain, make a wish and throw 100. I might just blow it, yo, he ain't warming.